Shalom. Okay, so um, this time I think I'm gonna do a recap of the introduction, so that anybody who this can be a good review, but it can also be a good introduction to anybody who's just looking to look at particular verses instead of doing the whole thing. Here is my little introduction into what we're doing, trying to make the Hebrew Bible accessible to people who don't necessarily know Hebrew. Now, as far as the Hebrew letters go, we're going to do a little introduction of the letters. Obviously, you are more than welcome to learn the Hebrew letters. I don't think it's the hardest thing to learn the letters. Just the letters at least. But if you want to use Roman equivalents, you can, and we'll go through this, and then that way you'll be able to keep track of what we're talking about strictly in the Hebrew, okay? Using Roman letters. Now, first, let me explain that Hebrew is written in consonants, right? So it's written from right to left, and only the consonants are written. The vowels are not written in Hebrew, okay? Generally. There are vowels which were developed not so long ago. I actually relatively recently, I believe about 500 years ago or so, maybe 800 years. But so the vocalization does exist, and if you want to learn the vocalization, you can. There's also the cantillation marks, which we're not going to go over. They're a bit more difficult. I'm not very musical, so I don't know the cantillation. So when we talk about the text, right, and what we're going to be looking at is the Masoretic Text. If you want to hear a little bit more of an introduction to the Masoretic Text, and that the first episode, I go into that. I'm not going to do that now, but we're going to be looking at the Masoretic Text. The Masoretic Text has the consonants, okay? Then there is a vocalization which is a traditional, and the traditional vocalization tells you more about what exactly the text means and how it's read. And then there's the traditional cantillation, which is how it's sang, right? And as how where you put the stresses in a sentence can really change the meaning of it, right? So the cantillations can also give you the traditional cantillation can give you a better understanding. But sometimes, and actually a lot of times, the consonantal text lends itself to multiple interpretations. So, what exactly the interpretation is can also depend on what you believe the consonants to be, the vocalization to be, right? Because the actual text, the scrolls, if you look in the actual Bible scripture scrolls that we have, they only include the consonants, okay? So we're going to go through the consonants. If you want to keep track of the meaning of words in Hebrew, the most important thing is what's called the shoresh, called the root. And each root has either 2 or 3 radicals, okay? And mostly what radical means is it means a consonant, right? Which and those radicals are what determine the general meaning, and then based on how it's conjugated, you take it from there. Okay, so first let's go through the Hebrew alphabet, and we'll discuss romanization. If you want to use English letters and you don't want to keep track based on Hebrew letters, this might be a little bit easier if you do it that way. I want to make it as easy for you to engage with the Hebrew text without necessarily needing to learn Hebrew. So we'll just go through all the letters. The first letter is the Aleph here, right? And it's usually romanized as an A. It's actually silent in the Hebrew. It's basically it's a place marker for the vowel, but it's usually I romanize it as A here. They're romanizing it as A as well on this website. Bet. Now in Hebrew, many letters have two forms. One with what's called a dagesh, which is just a dot in the letter. When it's vocalized, and that's part of the grammar, so it changes, right? So for example, the name Binyamin, right? Binyamin, based on what goes before it, what goes after it, where in the sentence it is, it might actually be pronounced Vinyamin, right? Because that bet changes into a vet based on where it is in the sentence. And so bet and vet they're the same radical, they're the same consonant, but they're sometimes said differently. If you're keeping track, I recommend just sticking with the bet. If you're trying to romanize the various roots for yourself, so you can keep track of them. Gimel, while it does take a dagesh, very few dialects of Hebrew maintain that difference, so it's usually romanized as a G. Dalet, same thing. Very few dialects maintain the differentiation, so a D works just fine. Hey, sometimes is silent, but it's generally a he sound. Sometimes it takes a dagesh just to let you know that it's because of the meaning, but don't worry too much about that. Vav, I usually actually romanize it either as a U or a W. I don't recommend using the V because that will get you confused with the bet, I think. But I mean, it's up to you however you want to do it. Now Vav is one of those. It's one of the two consonants that sometimes shows up in vocalization and sometimes doesn't. Yud is the other one, and so sometimes words are written slightly differently based on whether or not they have a vav or a yud where that goes along with their vowel, and that is called milui or chaser, full or lacking, right? And I keep track of that when I'm going through verses because some people do darshan that. Some people may do biblical exegesis based on whether or not a word is written bemilui in fullness or written bechisaron, written lacking. So that's something I try to point out when I remember. If it's a word that often is one or the other, and it switches, I'll usually remember that and point it out. Sorry if I don't always. But again, if you have questions, please comment on my videos. Please feel free to contact me, and I will try to answer questions and discuss things with you to help you out. I'm always available for that. Zayin looks very much like a vav, but it's a Z sound. Now, some people like to use Z for Sadi as well. I wouldn't do that. What a lot of people use is a T for Tet, a TZ for Tzadi, and a TH for Tough. That's well. Let's keep on going. Chet. There are two chet sounds in Hebrew. There's het and there's chaf. Now, chaf kaf is one of the ones that takes a dagesh. With a dagesh, it's a kaf. Without a dagesh, it's a chaf. My preference is actually to Romanize het with an X and Romanize chaf with a K or a KH. Um, it's up to you. Some people like using C or CH for the chaf. Um, I tend to like the X for the het, just because that if you are using X, that keeps them separate. You won't get them confused. That's my preference. Tet, again, it sounds very much in most dialects. There is no distinction between the tet and the tav, and that's the one I actually, when we're talking about words, sometimes I forget which root is with a tet and which one is with a tav. They are separate roots. You want to keep them separate. They mean different things, but that's that. Yud, like I said with the vav, sometimes shows up in vocalization, so I will try to show when it's ben milui. I usually use a yud. You can use an I as well. Chaf, like I mentioned, chaf can be with a you can use a K or a C. People generally will not use a C for a chet. Um, some people distinguish by keeping a C for chet and K for chaf. Now, important difference: chet never doesn't take a dagesh, so it's not going to change based on where it is in the vav word. Kaf and chaf will, and kaf actually has what's called a sofit form. In English, we'll capitalize letters at the beginning or sometimes in the middle of a word. In Hebrew, you will actually denote the ending when a word ends with certain letters with the sofit, with the ending form. So if you're learning to read Hebrew, you're gonna need to learn the sofit form of chaf. Lamed L, that's one of the easy ones. Mem M, pretty simple, except Mem does have a sofit form, which is a little box, which can get sometimes confusing. Nun N, again, Nun also has a sofit form. Samech, actually, what gets people confused is that the Samech looks a lot like a Mem sofit. But Samech, it's an S sound. I actually use an S both for Samech and for Sin. So Shin is a letter that, based on whether or not there's a dagesh on the right side or the left side of the letter, it is said Shin or Sin. Now, Shin and Sin, generally everybody agrees, are different roots. Some people, and I tend to agree with them, that a samech and a sin are actually the same root, which is why I feel comfortable using just an S for samech and an S for sin, and then using sh for shin. Um, that's a weird one. Shin is a different letter, so it's not like, for example, the B and the V in bet and vet, which the dagesh is based on where it is in the word. Those are considered different words. Okay, which is one of the reasons I agree with the idea that samech and sin are actually maybe related and interchangeable. Um, so what and some people actually like using an apostrophe to kind of tell the difference between, if you can keep track of that and remember it, um, which one's which. And so tough is, we'll talk about it when we get there, but some people will also use an S for tough. I don't recommend doing that. Ayin is usually kind of silent. It is a guttural. I actually romanize it using an E, and that works pretty well for me, especially because of in Yiddish, which is a language that's written in Hebrew, but it's not actually it's actually very closely related to German. It's kind of Jewish German. So in Yiddish, the ayin is used as an E, which is one of the reasons I like using E as the romanization of the ayin if you're going to do that. Pe and fe, again, with a dagesh or without a dagesh. Some people will do P and PH, right, to pe and fe, or some people will use P and F, up to you. I generally just use a P. It does have a Sofit form. Sadi is a TZ sound, and people will use TZ to romanize that. I generally use TZ. It does have a Sofit form as well. Both, actually, in my dialect, in most dialects, it's just very similar to the K sound of a kaf with a dagash. But Quf in my dialect is actually a guttural. So I like using Q for that. You do want to keep them separate. Resh R generally works, even though people use different, say their R's differently. Shin and Sin, we kind of talked about. Again, based on whether the dagesh is on the right side or on the left side. Shin is there's a dot on the right side. Sin, there's a dot on the left side. I use sh for shin and s for sin. Tough is one of those letters that takes a dagesh. I usually use th so that you don't get it confused with tet. And so in Ashkenazi, which is one of the most common dialects, the second most commonly used dialect of Hebrew, so they distinguish between a tough and a suf as a T and an S with or without a dagesh. My dialect doesn't, and modern Hebrew generally doesn't. So th is what I would use for both. So that's as far as romanization of the Hebrew alphabet. You can certainly use English if you like, but that's the romanization. Okay. So when we're looking at a word, so we're going to be doing Genesis chapter 17. This this video, I'm going to just explain things as we go here. So I use Bible Hub. I really like Bible Hub because they have the morphology. So they have a concordance on the left side here. Then they have the Hebrew with the romanization underneath it. Then they have an English. I think this actually goes along with the NIV. Their English. I'm not precisely sure. I think, or it might even go with the KJV. I'm not sure. King James Version. We go through the NIV, KJV, and I go through the translation, which is available on the Chabad website. But I start off with doing the Hebrew here on Bible Hub, and this is very convenient. They have the morphology. I don't always agree with their morphology, but it's generally very good, and it can help you figure out what's going on. So so when you're trying to figure out a word, first of all, Hebrew has prefixes and suffixes. Okay, so and that's what they're telling you here. So let's look at the morphology here, and it'll help you understand, and then we'll explain as we go along. So you may notice in some of the Hebrew translations you'll see a lot of ands. One of the reasons for that is and is used in Hebrew in various different ways. And one of it is actually to flip the tense. So we're actually seeing that in this one, Vayehi. So this is something it's both a construction we're gonna see a lot as you're looking at biblical Hebrew, and it's a word we see a lot. So this is actually the verb to be, which generally I would say everybody thinks would say is h hey vav hey is the root, um, or hey yud hey. So this is one of the things, knowing which root it is, and certain letters are considered weak stems, so they change, especially. Yeah, we'll get into that, but so one of the more irregular verbs, like in almost every language, is the verb to be. So there in English, in Hebrew, there's actually no present tense of the verb to be. Sometimes pronouns are used as a present, as a stand-in for that, but so Hebrew has, let's talk about this website, because I think it's pretty useful. It's Hebrew for Christians with the number 4 .com. They have a lot of information, generally very good information, I would say. I mean, I haven't been through the whole website, talking about um, the Hebrew how to look at biblical Hebrew. So let's talk about the various tenses. Where do they have it? So here, let's go through the tenses as they talk about it. So in Hebrew, there's the perfect, or to simplify it, is the past tense. This is for a completed action. So perfect meaning completed, right? So the past tense, completed action, perfect. The imperfect, future tense, is for incomplete actions, right? For things that are ongoing and going to complete in the future. There's the perfect, there's the imperfect, there's the participle, which is the present tense of the word. And for some reason, the linguists, I don't agree with the linguists in everything. For some reason, the linguists actually use imperative, jussive, and cohortive for the command based on which person it's in. I just say command generally for all three of them. So the first person command, let us, right, is that they call cohortive. The second person command, imperative, you do, right? Second person command, imperative. And the third person command is called the jussive, which means that somebody else, it's commanding that somebody else should do something. I just call all of this the command. There's two forms of the infinitive in Hebrew. There's the infinitive construct and the infinitive absolute. Now, what shows up a lot of times, the infinitive absolute actually shows up a lot, because in Hebrew, one of the ways that you intensify something is you repeat the word, and the infinitive absolute is actually the one that's used. We'll see it a lot of times. You'll notice in translation it says, "You shall surely," right? Surely do something. In the actual Hebrew, it's not surely, it's actually the repetition. There's that infinitive absolute. The same word is repeated twice, and so that gets translated often as surely. And then the infinitive construct, that's the to be form. I actually always learned that the infinitive construct, I guess this is more modern Hebrew, starts with a lamed, but I don't think biblical Hebrew linguists go along with that. You'll see that. So this website is really it's unfolding Hebrew, unfolding word Hebrew grammar, and it has all these various morphological terms and a few which I'm not actually a huge fan of, and it explains them very well. So if you want to really get to know what the various things are, this is when we talk about Hebrew morphology, this is a really useful website to use and to get to know. I don't agree with them with all the various stems and stuff. I've talked about that sometimes in the other ones, and there are generally seven binyanim, seven forms. We'll get into that. These aren't tenses. These are forms. These are constructions of the Hebrew letter. And one website which is really great is this constructor. It's on pe'alim.com, and it's a Hebrew constructor. You can just, if you can't find it, just Google Hebrew constructor. And what it does is it allows you to put in a three-letter root, right? And it has this handy-dandy Hebrew keyboard right there. And then it'll let you pick one of the seven binyanim, right? And then it will give you all the various conjugations in the various forms. And this is really useful if you're trying to test out whether or not it's plausible what you're saying as far as the three-letter root is, right? So one of the most important things, one of the most important ways of knowing what we're talking about, of translating from the Hebrew, understanding the Hebrew, is to try to figure out what is the root and what form is it in, which construction it's in, and which tense it's in. Okay? So once you decide what you think the three-letter root is, you can put it into one of the seven binyanim, and we'll discuss the binyanim in a minute. And then you can try it out and then look at the tense and how that tense is, right? There's the singular, there's the plural, there's the masculine, there's the feminine, there's the present tense, the past tense, the future tense, the imperative meaning command, and infinitive, okay? And this is actually pretty useful too. They have a dictionary as well. So this website's actually really useful. The other website, which I forgot to pull up, Sefaria.org, is actually, this is a kind of a wiki. You can make your own account here, and then so the Tanakh is how we refer to the Jewish Bible, the Hebrew Bible, and you can, for example, go into Genesis, right, and Genesis 17, right, and then there's all kinds of commentaries, and so this is a really useful website for Jewish texts. There's all kinds of Jewish texts, including many of them are translated, not all of them, and they're hyperlinked, and with your account you can actually make notes and stuff. So a really useful website. I'm a huge fan of this website. It has the Hebrew Bible in translation, and it also has the entirety of the Talmud in translation, which the Steinsaltz edition, which I also use a lot. So Sefaria.org, big, huge fan. Okay, so let's go back. So this is the constructor, right? And then let's talk a minute about the binyanim. So there are 7 binyanim, 7 forms that the 3-letter root will go into. So traditionally, the root that everybody talks about is pe ayin lamed, pal, right? And you'll see that a lot when you're looking into the grammar. That's used as kind of the it's kind of used as the workhorse of when we're talking about constructions. So this is the root pe ayin lamed in all 7 of the constructions. And so the simplest construction is this pa'al. Okay, it's sometimes called the kal or the simple. So here, actually, when they say morphology, they will actually say kal, Qal. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about the pa'al, which is the simplest form. And so that's the pa'al. Now that's the simple active. Okay, so you see that the pa'al is active and it's simple. Okay, then there's the simple passive, which is the nifal. Okay, one of the words people use, and here they actually use it as well here in order to explain is, so let's say we're talking about the root chaf, taf, bet, right? Chaf, taf, bet. That's a sample root a lot of people use. Um, and it's the root to write. Okay? So the simple form of that would be he wrote, katav. Okay? The completed action, third person masculine singular, katav, that's the simplest conjugation. He wrote. Okay? Now, the nif'al, which is the passive, right? So we're going over here. It's simple passive, right? So these 3 are passive, these 3 are active. Okay? Now, no root in Hebrew is used in all 7 binyanim in the Bible. So this is actually kind of a tiny bit of a extrapolation. This isn't really a real true in every way. But nichtav, the nif'al, right, of that root would be the simple nichtav, the simple passive. It was written, right? As opposed to he wrote, it was written. It's passive, right? Then there is this active intensive, and most words will either show up in the simple or the intensive. But so kitev would theoretically be he engraved, okay? Because it's more intensive than to write. It's still active, right? Then there's the intensive passive, kutav, it was engraved. Then there's the causative, which means to make somebody else to do. So hichtiv is the active causative, right? If I tell somebody to write, if I dictate to somebody and make them write, I'm causing them to write, right? So that's the causative active, hichtiv. So that's the hif'il. Then there's the hufal or hofal, which is huchtav, which is, so it's causative passive, was dictated. And then Hebrew has an reflexive. They're calling it intensive reflexive because sometimes just the fact that it is reflexive is kind of intensifying it. So hitkatev, I actually wrote himself kind of correspond, right? So lehitraot is how you say in modern Hebrew, until we meet again, until we see each other again, right? And some people will actually write lehitkatev, until we write again, right? So that's the 7 binyanim, right? The reflexive hitpa'el, the passive simple is nifal, passive intensive is pual, causative passive is hufal, the active simple is pa'al or kal. That's what Bible Hub calls it. The active intensive is the piel, and the active causative is the hefil, right? And this is a Wikipedia page. Christians, Hebrew for Christians has this website, which is useful, and they use this tree, which some people use to explain this as well in a similar manner. But there's always this website which you can use to try to understand a very good explanation. This is probably the best linguistic explanation of all the various parts of biblical Hebrew grammar. Okay? Okay, so we're not gonna. So let's go back here, and so let's take a look at the morphology here. Okay, so we have a prefix vav, and then we have yihi. So let's look at the morphology. It says conjunctive vav, which we're going to see a lot, and that's why in translations you see a lot of ands. Okay, so that vav shows up a lot, and it's not just used as a conjunction. Sometimes it's used to actually flip the tense. So that's what actually is going on here, right? Yehi is in the imperfect. So if that vav wasn't there, you would say yehi is an imperfect. It's in the future tense, right? And so that's what they have here. Verb kal. They're saying consecutive imperfect, and that's because of the vav. Okay? If it didn't have that vav there, it would just say imperfect, third person masculine singular. Okay? And this is a very common word. There's no disagreements here. Oftentimes, where there are disagreements as to the meaning of a word, mostly because it rarely shows up in many different places, right? So again, conjunctive of, then the verb kal in the simple form, consecutive imperfect, meaning that the vav is actually flipping it from the imperfect to the imperfect, to the perfect, I mean. So it's turning it into a past tense. And the only way you know whether it's being flipped or not is in context. Sometimes it flips it, sometimes it doesn't, and you need to look at the context. It's not as hard as you might think, okay? So that's what's going on here, and then it's third person masculine singular, okay? And here they have the English, okay? And when was in context, that's how they're translating it. I'll probably agree with them, but this is just the word vayehi, and this construct starting with a vav and then having a word in the consecutive imperfect, they call it, because of that vav. That starts a lot of sentences, and in fact a lot of chapters, and that's why you see the and so much in some translations of the Hebrew. Okay, vayehi Avram. So this is before Abraham's name was changed from Abram to Abraham. Avraham from Avram to Avraham. So this, it says noun, proper, masculine, singular. Okay, so Avram, noun, it's a proper noun, it's somebody's name, masculine, singular. Okay, Ben means, so Ben actually means son of. And here on the all the way to the left is where the concordance is. So you can look at all the times that word shows up in the Bible, and it has a lot of notes on the word. So let's look at Ben. And the number is actually from Strong's Concordance. So all the roots are numbered. Now, there are different concordances. I don't always agree with the concordance, but Ben generally means son. Here it means when you say somebody is the son of a certain number, what you mean is he's that old. Okay? And it'll show you all the places where that same word shows up. So it shows up almost 5,000 times in the Bible. Very, very common word. And it'll give various explanations. This can be really useful if you're trying to understand a particular word. And generally for nouns, it'll also give you what they think the root is. Okay? So let's go back. So vayehi, and we can let's take a look at that as well, right? And that also obviously shows up a lot. So they're saying the root is hey yud hey. Okay, that's what they have as the root, right? The three-letter root. Like I said, that's the most important question: is what's the three-letter root? Okay, and they're saying it shows up 3,000, almost 4,000 times as well. Yeah. And remember, there's no present tense of the verb to be in Hebrew. Okay? Okay. And is my... I'm sorry, but my mouse is giving me trouble today. Hopefully it won't give us too much trouble. But, so, Vayehi, and when was Abram? Ben, the son of Tish'im. So Tesha means 9, Tish'im means 90. Okay? So they're saying number, common, plural. Okay? Okay, by common they actually mean masculine, because this is the masculine is how we use is generally how we use most words. So sometimes they'll say common, like here. Oh, I forgot to mention construct. Okay, so one other thing that's really important. In Hebrew, there's a construct form. And what happens is when you have two or more words, nouns, together in Hebrew, they will form a construct, smichut in Hebrew, and that'll usually be a kind of new concept. It's trying to it's how there's only so many words in biblical Hebrew, right? And this is one of the ways that new words, new concepts are explained in Hebrew is through this construction. Oftentimes, it'll get translated as of. We'll see a lot of constructs, but they're saying here, so Ben, they're saying noun, masculine, singular, construct. They're telling you Ben and Tishim are in one construct form, which I generally agree with. Right? So Tish'im is 90 in the common or the masculine form. Okay? Shana is year in the singular. Now, why this gets translated to years is in English, when we're talking generally, we'll pluralize a word, and in Hebrew, when we're talking generally, we'll actually use a singular form of the word. That's why the word year is actually in the singular, although you'll see we'll actually also say it in the plural. here it's in the singular. So it says noun, feminine, singular. So the word year is feminine in Hebrew. Every noun has a gender in Hebrew. And this is the feminine, okay? Vetesha, so again, conjunctive of, that's the prefix. Tesha is 9, right? So Tishim Shana, 90 year, with the singular year. Vetesha Shanim, and 9 years. And this is a common way that the Bible speaks when it talks about numbers. You'll see this a lot. And Shana is irregular. Shanim is usually a masculine plural suffix, but for shanim, for year, it becomes feminine plural. Okay, Vetesha Shana Shanim, right? So he was 90 year and 9 years. So he was 99 years old, right? That's how the word son is used here. Vayera. Okay, interesting. So conjunctive of again, and that's why it says consecutive imperfect. So yera, they're saying verb nifal, which is in the passive, right? And they're saying the root here is resh aleph hey, okay? And the hey, it's one of those roots in Hebrew that absconds, that kind. It's a weak root and sometimes runs away from us. Okay, so they're saying the root here is resh aleph hey. So vayera is and then appeared because it's in the nifal, right? And it's in the consecutive imperfect. And you can go ahead and in the constructor we have, right? So let's put yud. Sorry, no, resh aleph hey, right? And they're saying it's in the nifal, right? And actually, yeah, that's what's going on here. The final hey, because it's being used as a guttural, it's actually running away from us. So let's see how they're gonna do ra'ah. So oh, let me take this off. The hay isn't really absconding here, like I would expect. Third person masculine singular, right? I'm kind of wondering why they're saying it's not. Anyway, okay, so that's what they're saying. Now, let's say that you actually thought, no, I'm gonna say that this is actually yud resh aleph, right? And it's in the pal, right? It's in the normal form. So you'll see yera, right? It's the past tense, or yera is in the future tense, right? You see what I'm talking about? Yara in the past tense, or yera. So somebody might disagree with them and say, no, this isn't appeared, this is feared, right? You could disagree that way. Although I would say you would be wrong. They're actually right here. This is a very common word. We see it a lot, and we know what's going on here. We know what it actually means. I was just going through the exercise of what ifs. Okay, but it is appeared. But you could kind of say, especially since, remember, the vocalizations are just traditional, right? And sometimes when you're doing exegesis in Hebrew, you'll actually read the word in different ways from the traditional as well, right? So although this is appeared, you could say fear, or there are other roots you could say are what's going on here. So that's I'm just giving you an example so you know what could be going on. Okay, Vayera, and then appeared. Havaya. So this is one of the names of God, and it's the ineffable, the Tetragrammaton. I never say it. I will usually change it with Havaya. Sometimes I will actually use the name Adnut, which means master or Lord. Um, and keeping track of the various names of God, that's also something you might want to do in your personal translation. A lot of people, a lot of translations have specific ways of referring to God with particular names so that you remember it, and that does get tricky at times. Okay, so Havaya El. Now, there are two prepositions El, so this is saying it's a preposition. There's two prepositions El which sound the same. One is with the ayin and one is with the aleph. Here it's with the aleph. And they do mean slightly different things, so if you're going to keep track of them, you might want to keep track of them. El with the aleph is usually more upon, and Al with the ayin is more to, although it gets kind of strange. So if you want to keep track of that, I do usually point out which one it is. But two different prepositions sound the same, very similar meanings, slightly different. Avram, noun, proper, masculine singular, like we had before. And again, very similar construction, right? We start with the vav, and then we have this consecutive imperfect of the kal, and the root here is aleph mem resh, which is to speak, right? And there's two main words that are used in the Hebrew to speak. There's aleph mem resh, amar, and there's daled bet resh, debar, or dibur, which means to speak. And generally, in Jewish exegesis, we will say that Amar is a less harsh way of speaking, while Diber is a more difficult way of speaking. Okay? Vayomer, so this is in the imperfect, but because of that vav, we're saying it's getting flipped. And again, the only way you know that it's getting flipped is you have to look in context and decide whether or not that vav is actually flipping it. If there's no vav there, there's no flipping. If there is a vav there, there may be a flipping. And that's what they mean when they say consecutive imperfect. They mean there's a vav at the beginning. Okay? Third, excuse me, third person masculine singular. So, and he said, right? So God said to Abraham, Elav. So, preposition El, just like we had before with the aleph. And now we have a suffix, yud, vet. That suffix is telling you third person masculine singular. Okay? And they put this this mark kind of like a wall. I forget what it's called. It'll probably come to me to tell you, okay, we're splitting this into a preposition, L, right, and the suffix third person masculine singular. Okay. Ani, so I, That's the pronoun, first person collective, common singular, sorry, because a man can use ani and a woman can use ani, right? It can be feminine, or that's what they mean by common singular. Now, the word I actually shows up in the Hebrew Bible in two different ways. There's ani, which is the less formal, the shorter way, which is how it's usually is. And then there's anochi, which can be a little bit more formal, which is also in the Bible. In modern Hebrew, they only use ani, But anochi is a little bit more of a full or formal way of saying I. Ani, and you'll see in the brackets here, they're reading an am here, which is because, like I said before, there's no present tense of the verb to be in the Hebrew. Okay, Kel is one of the 7 names of God. Shaddai is another one of the names of God. By 7, I meant that there are 7 names which cannot be, which are not erased in Judaism. And so if you write them down, we wouldn't that writing has a certain holiness to it, so we wouldn't just destroy that writing. That's what I meant by the 7. So this is Kel Shaddai is actually one of the um, 7 names which can't be erased. But there are many ways of saying God's name. This is one of them, right? And you may want to keep track of which names, right? So this is Kel Shaddai, okay? Hithalech, okay? So the root here, and generally whenever we're talking about it, a verse, I will try to give you what I think the 3-letter root of that word is. And the root here, I would say, is Hey Lamed Chaf, which means to walk. Okay? And it's in the Hitpa'el form, and they're saying imperative. Okay? Masculine singular. Hitalech. Okay. I'm not sure I agree that it's in the imperative. It is in imperfect. It is in the reflexive. Kel Shaddai. Hitalech lefanai. Oh, he's commanding. Oh, okay, I see. He's commanding. Um, he's commanding Abram, walk lefanai, before me. So prepositional lamed. Lamed is usually translated as to, right? And panai. So panim. Okay, so pone means to turn or to corner, or a corner. Panim is face, and it's in the plural in the Hebrew. So panim. So lefanai is actually before me. So they have prepositional lamed. Panim, it's the noun masculine plural, but it's in the construct form, and that's what happens when it takes a suffix like this. And it's taking that yud, the suffix that it's taking is the first person collective common singular. Okay, lefanai, before me, to kind of to my face, but ahead of me, right? Lefanai. Vehyeh. So again, we're talking, the root is hey yud hey, right? To be, conjunctive of, and it's in the call imperative, right? It's saying and be tamim. Okay, they're translating that as tamim, as blameless. It actually means whole. You can look in your concordance and try to figure out that word. Tam can be simple, can be whole, can be pure, and they're translating here as blameless. Adjective, masculine singular. Okay? So, masculine singular. Tamim is plural. Well, it is kind of plural. Here it is in the singular. It's fine. It's kind of the tamim is it is kind of it is being used as the singular, even though it's kind of plural. And you see, this is every time I go through the Bible, things pop out at me. But this is kind of an emphasis, right? To be pure, to be blameless, to be whole, right? Vehyeh tamim, and so God is telling him, walk before me and be pure and be complete, be whole with me. Okay. Okay. So we went through this whole verse, and we go through it, all of the verses in a very similar manner. Hopefully, this worked as a good introduction. Again, to look at the various websites, this unfolding word Hebrew grammar will give you the morphology and really, I mean, I don't necessarily always agree with them, but it's the linguistic analysis, right? This website, Hebrew for Christians, is very useful. They have a lot of good information here. I think I went through everything I wanted to go through here, and they have PDFs and stuff. Useful website. I don't necessarily agree with everything they say, but again, useful website, and the humor isn't bad either. There's a lot of Jewish jokes there. Um, okay, and obviously you can use Wikipedia. It does do a lot of explanations, but Wikipedia is mostly talking about modern Hebrew. It's not talking as much about biblical Hebrew. Of course, there's also biblical Hebrew grammar you can look at. Um, I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with Wikipedia. Okay. Okay. And so that's that. And then the constructor, I really like this website, especially when I'm trying to find out the root of something, whether or not I agree with what the three-letter root is and which form it's in. And they also have their dictionary and stuff. I think it's pretty. I like it. I like it. And that was the romanization. And of course, there's Safaria. And you can actually use the notes here to kind of make your own whole translation on the Safaria website. So up to you. It's all there. Lots and lots of websites and tools for you to use, and always you can connect with me. I think that was a good introduction to everything. So let's go ahead and try to figure out how we would translate this. So we're going to compare King James, NIV, and the Chabad translations as soon as this. Here we go. Okay, King James. And when Abram was 99 years old and 9, okay, 90 years old and 9, the Lord appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be thou perfect. Okay, King James. NIV. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him and said, I am God Almighty. And we'll take a look, but it's probably telling us that the word is Kal Shaddai. Walk before me faithfully. Faithfully, I am not sure where they got that faithfully from. And be blameless. Okay, let's see here. Right, Hebrew, Kal Shaddai. Right. Let's see how Chabad does it. And one of the reasons I like Chabad is because they have the Rashis here, and Rashi is the most basic. It's the first Jewish commentary everybody turns to, both on the Talmud and on Scripture. So it's pretty good. I often look into it myself. Okay. Let's see how they translate it. And the translation here usually follows Rashi and what Rashi says. Okay. And Abram was 99 years old, and God appeared to Abram, and he said to him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be perfect. So they're translating tamim as perfect, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at the Rashis on this verse. So Rashi's explaining Kal Shaddai, right? So it's I think this is the first time we've had that, right? So he's explaining, I am He who godliness suffices for every creature. So he's explaining the word Shaddai. That is enough, right? That's interesting. I must have known that before. I mean, I've studied all these Rashis before, but what can I tell you? I'm getting old. Therefore, walk before me, and I will be your God and your protector. And wherever this name appears in Scripture, it means His sufficiency. But each one is to be interpreted according to the context. And Chabad is nice enough to tell us that this is actually from Genesis Rabbah, which is one of the Midrashim, and where that is. Walk before me. As the Targum, so Targum means translation to Aramaic, and there are lots of Targumim, but generally when we talk about the Targum in the Pentateuch, the 5 books of Moses, we're talking about Targum Onkelos. Onkelos was a Tana. Other things we can get into. We won't go too much into it. But when he says Targum, he means Targum Onkelos, unless he says different. Right? Serve me, cleave to my service. Right? Okay. And be perfect. So Tamim, this too is one command following another command. Be perfect in all my trials. Walk before me with faith and honesty, and also be perfect in all my trials. Mizrahi is a commentary on Rashi. I guess they're saying they're transit. I'm not sure. According to this Midrashic interpretation, walk before me refers to the commandment of circumcision, and thereby you will be perfect. For as long as the foreskin is upon you, I will consider you imperfect. So that's the Genesis Rabbah. Another explanation, and be perfect. Now you are missing control over your 5 organs, 2 eyes, 2 ears, and the male organ. I will add a letter to your name. The letter Hey means 5. And the numerical value of your letters of your name will be 248. Abraham is Aleph is 1, Bet is 2, Resh is 200, Hey is 5, and Mem is 40. So 1 plus 2 plus 200, so that's 203, plus 5, that's 208, and 40, 248. Yep. Corresponding to the number of your organs. Oh, Ramach, right. 248 is traditionally what we say the total number of organs in the human body is, and you will be complete. Tamim. Why do I forget these things? They're so beautiful. Okay. We're not. I don't do all the Rashis. You are welcome to look at all the Rashis. I highly recommend that you do. But so we went through the first verse with another introduction. Hopefully, if this was a review for you, it was a useful review. If not, sorry about that. Okay, next verse. ואתנה בריתי ביני ובינך ובינך וארבה אותך במאוד מאוד. Oh, this is what I forgot to mention. The direct object marker. Important part of Hebrew that I forgot to mention earlier. Direct object marker is something that doesn't show up in English and most other languages. I know Spanish also has a direct object marker. So it is a word that says that that is telling you what the direct object of a verb is. Okay, and in Hebrew, it's sometimes used and it's sometimes not used. And when it is used, one of the things which generally in Jewish exegesis we will say is that the Bible is telling you there's more going on here, but we didn't make that perfectly clear. Okay, we're not going to go into the details. That's basically how we read it when there is a direct object marker there. Okay. Ve'etna. Okay. So conjunctive of etna. They're saying verb call conjunctive imperfect because there's a vav at the beginning. Cohortive. Meaning command, right? First person common singular. So yes, and I will. So okay, first we have to figure out what the three-letter root is, right? And this is actually one of the difficult primitive roots to put or to set. What exactly it is, I think the three letters are nun, taf, nun. Let's see what they say here. In the concordance, natan, to give the root. Yeah, they're saying the root is nun, taf, nun, and which I agree with. This shows up a lot, right? But ve'etna, and I will give. Okay. I'm not sure I agree with the cohortive. I'm not sure it's cohortive. It's in the command form. You can use the constructor if you like, and see where etna shows. Aten, yeah, okay. Aten is the normal imperfect. I guess it is the cohortive. Okay. Ve'etna, and I will put or set or give. Briti. Okay, so this is Brit is covenant, and Briti has the suffix first person collective, a common singular, my covenant. And as your normal, Brit here is written bemilui. That yud there is part of the vocalization. It's not actually a consonant. So that's what we mean when we say it's written fully, like I spoke to you about before. Beini uveinecha. So bein means between. It's a preposition. Bein e has the suffix first person common singular. Uveinecha. So preposition, conjunctive of as a preposition, as a prefix. Then the preposition bein again, right? Between. And The suffix second person masculine singular. So beini uveinecha, between me and between you, right? So between you and me. Ve'arbe, again, conjunctive of. The root here is resh bet hey, to make great, to multiply, right? Yeah, make large in numbers, multiply. And they're saying it's in the hefil, right? And the hefil is the causative, right? So hefil conjunctive imperfect. They're saying first person singular. The aleph is what tells you that it's in the first person common singular. And I will cause to be multiplied, right? Which is a little bit different from what's and I will multiply. Ve'arbe otcha, so the direct object marker saying who it is, otcha, right? I wouldn't darshan this too much because without the otcha, we wouldn't know who it was. And I will multiply you. I will, or make you great. I guess you could also say, bemeod meod. So prepositional bet, meaning in, right? Meod means very. Meod meod, and I in very exceedingly greatly, very much. And like I said before, in Hebrew, you do repeat things in order to make them to emphasize them, right? Meod meod, and I will multiply you greatly. Okay, let's look at King James, and I will make my covenant between me and the. They're translating as a make. I'm not sure. I agree with that. And will multiply the exceedingly. Okay. NIV. Then I will make. Right. And a lot of these prepositions can be translated in many different ways, and sometimes are. I have my favorite ways of doing them mostly. Sometimes you'll end up using the same word in different ways in the same sentence. Right? Then I will make my covenant between me and you, and will greatly increase your numbers. Okay, let's see what Chabad does. And I will place. See, I usually like the Chabad better. It tends to go along with the Hebrew a lot more. It's the traditional Jewish way. It's what I'm used to. Okay. And I will place my covenant between me and between you, and I will multiply you very greatly. Right? That's how they're translating b'ma'od me'od. Right? Very much so. Okay. Verse 3. Vayipol Avram al panav vaydaber ito Elohim le'emor. Okay, so the root here I would say is nun pe lamed, which means to fall, right? So conjunctive of yipol. They're saying consecutive imperfect, which I will agree with. Of the kal, the simple, to fall. So the vav is flipping it from the imperfect to the perfect. It's turning it from the future to the past tense, right? And Abraham fell al panav. So this is the preposition with the ayin, not aleph. And this is a very common way to fall on your face. It doesn't mean exactly what it means in English. It means to bow down. Vayipol Avram al panav, upon his face. He fell upon his face. So panim is in the construct form here with the suffix third person masculine singular. So he fell on his face, or he fell forward, or he bowed down. Okay? Vaidaber, so the root here, so we have the conjunctive of, the root here is dalet bet resh, which is to say, but like I said before, in Judaism we say that daber is a more harsh way of speaking, actually. Okay? So Vaidaber, and spoke slightly harshly, maybe. PL. So daber is always in the PL form generally. Like I said before, some roots generally take a PL, some generally take a PAL, more intensive. Daber is considered more intensive. And talked Vaidaber ito, this yedaber is in the imperfect, but because there's a vav, it's getting flipped, right? Third person masculine singular. Ito with him, right? So this is the direct. This is the preposition at. It looks like the direct object marker. It's a slightly different. Vaidaber oto would be God spoke him, which doesn't make sense. Vaidaber ito, God spoke with him. And actually, I mean, the direct object marker would be oto, not ito, but that's in the vocalization, right? So spoke with him, Elohim. So this is one of the more common ways we refer to God. It is in the plural, although it always takes it's always conjugated with the pretty much always with the singular, which is a whole other discussion. So God, le'emor, and this is in the infinitive, the aleph mem resh, which is to say, right? Saying, right? So let's look at what King James does with it. And Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, yeah, pretty much. NIV, Abram fell face down, and God said to him, okay. Abad, and Abram fell upon his face, and God spoke with him, saying, right? And you can read the Rashis there if you like, but we're going to keep on going because if I did all the Rashis, we would take forever. Ani hine briti itach v'hayita la'av hamon goyim. Okay. So, they're reading as for me, right? So God, pronoun ani, first person common singular. Hine is an interjection. Behold, here, right? For me, ani hine. I actually would probably translate it here as here I am, right? But right now they're saying behold. Ani hine briti. As for me, yeah, I agree with the as for me. As for me, here is my covenant. That's what I would have translated. Briti, right? My covenant with. So, Brit is noun, feminine singular. In the construct form, first person collective common singular, right? My covenant, and as usual, it is in the Milui written fully. Brit almost always is. I'm not sure if it always is. Itach, with you. Interesting. So they're saying preposition, right? So this is itach, not otach. Second person masculine singular. Oops. That's not the vocalization here. This is second person feminine singular, and that happens sometimes in the Bible. But that is in the feminine. I'm kind of wondering if Rashi addresses that. But Briti itach, my covenant is with you. The hayita, okay. So conjunctive of hayita. It's the conjunctive perfect, and it's getting flipped, right? So it's in the past tense, but it's getting flipped in context. You shall be, right? So the hayita. This is lihiot. This is hey yud hey is the root here. So v'hayita, and you shall be. Le'av hamon goyim, the father of many nations. Okay. So let's le'av. So prepositional lamed, meaning to. Here a father. Yeah, that makes sense. Av is a noun, masculine, singular. Construct. Yeah, because it's of meaning father. Hamon. So this is one big construction of hamon goyim, right? So three different nouns right next to each other, and they're in one big construct. So the of is in the construct. Hamon meaning many, and it is written completely bemilui, which I don't know if it always is, but here it certainly is. Goyim, so goy means nation, and when we refer to it in the singular, we're talking about the Jewish nation. When we talk about it in the plural, we meaning all the nations, right? Including both Jews and non-Jews. So the Haita, and you will be the father of many nations. Hamon goyim. Okay, so let's look at King James. And uh, as for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Okay. NIV. As for me, this is my covenant with you. You will be father of many nations. Okay, the father of many nations. Okay. Chabad. Um, and your name shall. Hold on. As for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be. You shall become the father of a multitude of nations. Okay. Yeah. I see it. Fortunately, there is no Rashi on Itach. I'm wondering why that is. If I remember, I will look it up later. Okay. Verse. It will load. Okay. Velo yikare od et shimcha Avram v'haya shimcha Avraham ki av hamon goyim nataticha. Okay, so conjunctive of, lo means not, yikare, so the root here is kof resh aleph, very common word to call, shows up a lot in the Bible. And anytime you want to find out more about the root of a word, you can always use your concordance. I highly recommend it. But this is kof resh aleph, right? Yikare, so this is in the nif'al, meaning it's in the not active, passive. It's in the passive, right? Yikare will not be called, right? Lo yikare will not be called. Imperfect is, so it's in the future, third person masculine singular, and shall not be called. Od meaning more or longer, right? It's the adverb, and as always, it's femilui. Et is the direct object marker. Okay, like I said, it tells you what the object. So shimcha, your name, is the object of the verb. Okay, et shimcha. And like I said, in exegesis, we would say that there's other things which are being done here, which you may darshan, you may try to figure out. Shimcha, so Shem means name. Shimcha is your name. It's with the suffix second person masculine singular, right? So your name shall not be called anymore Avram, right, which was his name, Vehaya. So, conjunctive vav, haya is in the perfect, but because there's the vav, it's the conjunctive perfect, it's getting flipped. Got it? Right. Vehaya, so third person masculine singular. So it was, but it's being flipped to shall be. Vehaya shimcha, your name, Avraham. Right? He gets this new, shiny brand new name. Right? Avraham. Ki, so ki is a conjunction. Usually I translate it as for, because, so. Of, meaning father. Now masculine singular construct, right? Like we had in the previous verse of Hamon Goyim. It's all together. Father of many nations, of Hamon Goyim. Same thing as the previous verse, right? Father of many nations. Nataticha. So the root is latet again, right? Nun, tough nun. Nataticha, I have set you, I have made you, I have given you. Okay? So, call perfect, right? It's in the past tense. And then there's the suffix ha, meaning second person masculine singular. I have made you. Right? Natati means I have made, or I have put, or I have given. Ha is the suffix second person masculine singular you. Okay? Let's look at King James. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee. Okay. NIV. No longer will you be called Abram, and we'll take a look at the note. Your name will be Abraham, for I have made you a father of many nations. Okay, let's look at the two notes. Abram of Ram means father exalted. Okay, of Ram, right? Of means father, Ram means up, high, right? So exalted. Of Raham probably means father of many. Of means father, Raham. Now I see what they mean by probably. I'm not sure why Raham means many. I guess from Hamon. Okay. Chabad. And no longer shall you, and your name shall no longer be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham, for I have made you the father of a multitude of nations. Okay. And Rashi of Hamon is an acrostic of his name, of Raham. The Resh that was right, his name was Avram, right? So Haman, okay. That was in the original name, denoting that he was the father only of Aram, okay, which is his native place, whereas now he has become the father of the whole world, right? And that's from the Talmud Bereshit, Berachot 13a. Nevertheless, the Resh that was there originally was not moved from its place, for even the Yud in Sarah's name complained to the Shekhinah until it was added to Joshua, as it is said, and Moses called Hoshea, the son of Nun, Yehoshua, right? That's cute. I had not remembered that. Yeah, Sarai, the name of Sarah, the Yud complained, hey, yo, what'd you do here? What? That's funny. Okay, verse 6. והפרתי אותך במאוד מאוד ונתתיך לגויים ומלאכים ממך יצאו. Okay. Vehifreti, the root here I would say is a pei resh yud or pei resh vav, or even pei resh hey. No, I would probably say it's pei resh yud. Pei resh vav too. Let's see what they're saying. They're saying pei resh hey to be fruitful. Yeah, I could see that. I could agree with that. Yeah, or pre-parish yud, maybe. Uh, I can see parish hey. I can agree with that. Okay. But it is in the he-fill. It's in the causative. I shall cause you, but hifreti, right? So conjunctive vav hifreti is in the perfect, but it's getting flipped. I will make you fruitful. Hifreti otcha, so direct object marker, second person masculine singular, you. B'me'od, so prepositional bet. Me'od meaning many, meaning very. Right, we had that before. Me'od, so repetitively. Right. Then nataticha, so conjunctive of natati is in the perfect, but it's getting flipped. Natati is I put, or I made, or I set. I gave, and it's getting flipped to the imperfect, right? And I will make you, right? Let goyim, so prepositional lamed, goyim, like we said, many nations. U melachim, so conjunctive of again. Melech is king. That root mem lamet chaf actually shows up a lot in the Bible. Melech is king. Melachim is kings, right? And kings mimecha. So this is prepositional mem. Mimecha, from you, right? Yeah, from you. It's almost like it's two prepositional mems, one after the other. Mimcha means from you. Yeah, this shows up a lot in the Bible. And you can use your concordance again. Yetzeu, right? I would say the root here is tzadi aleph hey. That's to come out, right? Yetzeu will come out. It's in the imperfect. Yetzeu will come out in a third person masculine plural. And yeah, I think Tzadik Aleph Hey is the root there. Let's look at King James, verse 6. And I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. Okay. And I will make you very fruitful. I will make nations of you, and kings will come from you. Okay. Come on. And I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make you into nations, and kings will emerge from you. And you can read the Rashis if you like. Okay. והקימותי את הבריתי ביני ובינך ובין זרעך אחריך לדורותם לברית עולם להיות לך לאלוהים ולזרעך אחריך. Very interesting. So the root here, so conjunctive of, the root here is kuf vav mem, I would say, to rise, and this is in the he-fill, I will establish, right? I will cause to rise, or I will establish. The hakimoti, hakimoti is in the perfect, but the vav is flipping it into the imperfect, right? From the completed into the incomplete. And I will establish, and it's in the first person common singular. Et is the direct object marker. Brit is covenant. Briti is my covenant. Beini, between me. Uveinecha, so conjunctive of beinecha, between you, right? Second person masculine singular. Uvein, so and conjunctive of vein is the preposition. Zaracha, so zera, root is zain resh ayin. This is a noun, but it still has the same root, meaning seed, right? So they're translating as descendants, your seed, right? Zaracha, your seed. Acharecha, achar means after. It's the preposition after. Acharecha means after you. Second person masculine singular. Ledorotam. So prepositional lamed, to, right? Dor means generation. It usually is written bechisaron, and here it is written doubly bechisaron. I'm a little surprised at that. I would have kind of expected at least one vav in there, but there's no vavs, so this is written completely bechisaron. It could have been written with two vavs, with complete milui, or it could have been written with one or of the two vavs, right? Here it's written without any vavs. Ledorotam. And Rashi probably darshans that, but we'll see. So, prepositional lamed, dor means generation, dorot means generations, dorotam means their generations. Third person masculine plural. Livrit, again, prepositional lamed, brit meaning covenant. So as a covenant, olam. Olam literally means world. Oftentimes here, as in here, everlasting, forever. It is ben milui, as always, as usual, with that vav. Lihiot, and this is the infinitive of the verb to be, right? Lihiot, to be. Lecha, prepositional lamed, chaf, this is second person masculine singular, to you. Le Elokim, so prepositional lamed meaning as Elokim, name of God. So I shall be to you as a God, which is a slightly strange thing, right? That lamed there. Ulezaracha, so conjunctive of, lamed is the prepositional lamed, zera, noun, masculine singular in the construct form, seed in the singular, right? They're saying your descendants, but here, and your seed in the singular, lazaracha, yours, second person masculine singular. That's the suffix. Acharecha, after you. Okay. 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 King James, verse 7, and I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee. Okay. NIV, I will establish my covenant as an everlasting covenant between me and you and your descendants after you for generations to come, to be your God and the God of your descendants after you. Okay, Chabad. And I will establish my covenant between me and between you and between your seed after you throughout their generations as an everlasting covenant, to be to you for a God. See, they translated it like I would have. For a God, le Elohim. And that lamed's a little strange there. And to your seed after you. Yeah. Okay. And you can read the Rashi's there. He does not explain that le Elohim. Okay. Venatati lecha ulezaracha acharecha et eretz megurecha et kol eretz Kenan le'achuzat olam v'hayiti lahem le'elokim. Okay, so venatati. So again, this is the root to give or to set, right? Nun, tough nun, I would say. Shows up a lot, and it's a little strange. So, but it's in that conjunctive perfect, and my mouse is acting up. So the vav is switching it from the perfect to the imperfect, right? From the completed to the incomplete action. And atati, lecha, to you, ulezaraha, so conjunctive vav, prepositional lamed, zera meaning seed, zaracha meaning your seed, right? Acharecha, after you. Et is the direct object marker. So I shall give them the land and other things as well, right? That's how we would darshan that direct object marker there, I think. Eretz means land, and it is in a construct form with megurecha. So interesting. So gur is a interesting root. You can look in the concordance there. I'd say the root here is actually gimel vav resh megurecha. So giyur, right? The hufal, the cause to live, is a conversion, right? They're translating it in which you are a stranger. Megurecha. In which you live is probably how I would translate that. Megurecha. And since it's a noun, they're not giving you the thing. I would actually say this is kind of a hufal of that root, megurecha. Let's look at the concordance. Magur, a sojourning dwelling place, like mikdash, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. This is the first time it shows up in the Bible, but it actually shows up quite a few times. 11 occurrences, so you can look at that. From Gimel Vav Resh, right? They're saying that's the root there, in the sense of lodging, right? Gur, right? See, I'm not bad at this stuff. I'm not horrible at this stuff. Let's say. Okay. Megurecha et direct object marker. So I gave the land in which you were a stranger of your conversion, right? Et kol eretz, to all. Kol is all, which you see many times. Eretz, again, land. Canaan. So this is all in smichut, right? Kol eretz Canaan, all the land of Canaan, right? It's all one big construction. Canaan. La'achuzat, sorry. Prepositional lamed, achuz, the root there is aleph chaf, chet, zayin, means to grab. Achuzah is a possession. Lechoz means to grab, to hold on to. Le'achuzat, and it's in, see, achuzat, the hey turns into a taf because this is in a construct with olam, okay, as a possession everlasting, right? Achuzat olam. Achuzah is possession. It's in a construct form with olam, meaning everlasting or forever or the world, right? Olam. And achuzah could actually have been written with a vav, but it's not. Not that that's surprising in any way. Olam is with a vav as usual. V'hayiti, so conjunctive vav, hayiti is in the perfect. This is lihiot, to be. Hey, hey yud, hey or hey, vav hey, to be. And I will be, because it's getting flipped, lahem, so prepositional lamed, hem is third person masculine, to them, le Elokim, right, as a God. Prepositional lamed, God, right? Let's look at King James, verse 8. And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. Okay. NIV. The whole land of Canaan, where you now reside as a foreigner, I will give as an everlasting possession to you and your descendants after you, and I will be their God. Okay. Chabad. And I will give you and your seed after you the land of your sojournings, the entire land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be to them for a God. Okay, sojourning is such a biblically translated word. Nobody uses sojourning. Why are you using sojourning? I would actually use I would personally translate it probably the land of your conversion. Actually, maybe. You were foreigners. Yeah. Okay. Vayomer Elokim El Avraham. Sorry, we've switched. Ve'ata et briti tishmor. Ata v'zar'acha charecha ledorotam. Okay. Vayomer. So conjunctive of the root here is aleph mem resh, to say. We get that a lot. It's in the imperfect. But the vav is flipping it to the perfect. Elokim is one of the ways we refer to God. El is the preposition with the aleph, not ayin. Avraham is his name. Ve'ata, so conjunctive of ata is the pronoun second person masculine singular, so you. Et, so direct object marker, briti, my covenant. Tishmor. And it's sometimes the imperfect, the future tense, is used kind of as a command, and that's how it's being used here. The root here is shin mem resh. It's a common, pretty common root. You can look it up in the concordance. You shall keep, tishmor, means to guard or to keep. Right? So you shall keep my covenant, ata, you. Ve zaracha, so conjunctive of, zera is seed, zaracha, your seed, acharecha, after you, le dorotam, so prepositional lamed, dor means generation, dorot means generations, dorotam means their generations. And it's written chisaron as it was before. Let's look at King James, verse 9. And God said unto Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. Therefore. Why therefore? Where did they get the therefore? I don't know where they got the therefore. Okay. Verse 9, and then God said to Abram, as for you, you must keep my covenant, you and your descendants after you, for the generations to come. I'm not sure I like the must, because it's actually, it's not, that's not what it is. It's you will keep. Let's see what Chabad does with it. Verse 9. And God said to Abraham, and you shall keep my covenant, you and your seed after you, throughout their generations. And you can read the Rashis there if you like. I generally prefer the Chabad translation. No surprise there. Okay. Zot abriti asher tishmeru beini uveinechem Uvein zar'acha acharecha himol lachem kol zachar. Ooh, okay. Zot is the pronoun feminine singular. So since brit is feminine, it's yeah, that's why it's using zot instead of ze. And like I said before, there's no present tense of the verb to be. Sometimes pronouns are used instead, and this is kind of using that pronoun there to kind of tell you there's an is there. This is my covenant. Zot abriti, my covenant. Asher, this is they say pronoun relative, that or which, right? Asher tishmeru. Again, same root, shin mem resh. It's in the imperfect of the call of the simple form. Tishmeru, you shall keep. And this is second person masculine plural, tishmeru. You shall, all y'all shall keep. Right? Beini, between me, beini, uveinechem. And again, this is the second person masculine plural. All you all, between all y'all. Right? Not just you singular, between all y'all. Uvein and between, so conjunctive of in between. Zar'acha, your seed, singular, right? Your singular seed, zar'acha, and this is you, again, flipping back to the singular. Acharecha, after you, where that's again after you in the singular. Himol, so this is the infinitive absolute, like we talked about, of the nifal, of to be circumcised, right? The root here is, I'd say, mem lamed he, mila, right? Which means circumcision. Himol, caused to be circumcised. And it's in the infinitive absolute. Lachem, prepositional lamed, chem, second person masculine plural, all y'all, right? Kol, meaning every, zachar, meaning male, and they're saying male child, so every male, kol zachar. Himol lachem, you shall circumcise for yourselves among you, kol, all male, all that is male, kol zachar, okay? Zayin chaf resh, which actually also means to remember. And that is the root there. Okay. Let's look at King James, verse 10. This is my covenant, and which ye shall keep, both between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised. Okay. NIV, this is my covenant with you and your descendants after you, the covenant you are to keep. Every male child among you shall be circumcised. Yeah, I like that better than King James. So it does Chabad. This is my covenant, which you shall observe. They're translating tishmaru, observe. Okay. Between me and between you and between your seed after you, that every male among you be circumcised. Okay. You can read the Rashis if you like. Okay. Verse 11. Unimaltem et basar orlatchem v'haya leot abrit beini uveinechem. Okay. So the root, I would say, is a mem lamed he, and now that's in the nifal form, right? So did we say it was in the nifal in the previous? Himol, yeah, it's in the nifal. Himol, nimaltem. Well, this is definitely in the nifal. I almost want to say himol might be in the hufal, the causative the causative passive. And you can certainly use the constructor here. So let's look at the constructor, right? Mem. Come on. Click constructor. Mila. Sorry. Mila. And let's look at the hoofball. Maybe they are right. It's in the nifal. Nifal. Yeah, they're probably right. Although this isn't showing up in the thing, they're probably saying that it's mem vav. To circumcise. Yeah, they're saying that the root is mem vav lamed. Let's look at what they're saying in the concordance. Normal. Yeah, they're also saying mem vav lamed mol. Okay, I'm fine with that. Okay, Nemalton and shall be circumcised, right? This obviously conjunctive vav. It's in the perfect, and it's being flipped. Unemalten. All y'all. Second person masculine plural. Et is the direct object marker. Basar, and I generally would say that et is probably telling you that you should also circumcise your heart, right? In a more spiritual manner. Basar is a noun meaning flesh, and it is in the construct form with orla. So ayin resh lamed is obviously foreskin. It's actually, when we talk about the orla, we also are talking about fruit trees, young fruit trees, like they say here. Oral. Lato, right? Yeah, we're talking about fruit trees there. So you can look that further, but generally it's foreskin, but it also refers to young trees. Okay. Or latchem, your foreskins, right? All y'all, again, second person masculine plural. Vehaya, and it shall be, because it's getting flipped. This shows up a lot. Le'ot. So prepositional lamed ot is a sign, and here it is bemilui, as it I believe usually is. It shall be for a sign, and it's in the construct with brit, right? Ot brit, a sign of the covenant, right? Le'ot, as a sign of the covenant. Brit meaning covenant. Beini, between me, uveinechem, and between all y'all. Okay, let's look at verse 11, King James. And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token, right, as a sign, token, of the covenant betwixt me and you. Yeah. And this is no. You are to undergo circumcision, and it shall be unemaltem. Undergo? Yeah, I guess. Yeah. And will be the sign of the covenant between me and you. Chabad, and you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, right? Besar olatchem, and it shall be as a sign of as the sign of a covenant between me and you. And Rashi is explaining that this is in the nifal, it's in the passive form. Okay. Uven shmonat yamim yimol lachem kol zachar ledorotechem yelid bayit umiknat kesef mikol ben nechar asher lo mizaracha hu. Okay. So conjunctive of ben meaning son, but here we're talking about age, like we were before. Shmonat yamim. Shmona means 8. Here the hey turns into a taf because it's in the construct form. Shmona is written bechisaron without the vav as usual. Yamim, days. 8 days. Ben shmonat yamim, 8 days old, right? Yimol, right? Again, mem vav lamed, they're saying is the root, which I won't disagree with. Yimol, it's shall be circumcised, right? This is an imperfect of the nifal of the yimol, right? It's in the passive. Lachem. So prepositional lamed, chem is second person masculine plural, all y'all. Kol, every. Zachar, male. Ledorotechem. So prepositional lamed, so to your generations or in your generations. Yeah. Dor means generations. Dorot means generations. And Dorotechem, your generations, all y'all's generations. And again, without the vavs. Yelid, now that's okay. So leda, this is one of the verbs which gets kind of strange. What exactly is the root there? There's definitely a lamed and a daled there. I would generally say it's a vav lamed daled. And yalid, born in, some anything that was born in, right? Yalid bait is one that was born in the house, and it is in the construct form with bait. So yalid bait, something that was born or caused to be born in the house, right? U miknat, so conjunctive vav. Miknat comes from the root kof nun hey, which means to purchase. Mikna is something that was bought, right? Miknat, it's because it's in the construct with money, right? Miknat kesef, something that was bought with money, right? Miknat kesef, purchase of money. Yeah. U miknat kesef. Kesef literally means silver, but it means money in because silver was used as money. That it's become it means money in Hebrew. Mi kol, so prepositional mem kol meaning all. Ben, so miknat kesef is bought with money from all man. Mikol ben nechar. Nechar is so it comes from the root. So nechar. They're saying the root is nun chaf resh. Yeah. I mean, yeah. You can look here and compare with various things. Could be cut off. Could be alien. if you're interested in the root of this particular verb noun, it's a little interesting, I would say. Um, where what exactly? Because chaf resh is a two-letter root that kind of means to cut, and it's used in many different ways. Lahakir means um, to recognize people, right? Um, and it's in the causative. Anyway, you can look into that. But Ben Afar is so somebody who is bought from a stranger, right? Because obviously, if it's somebody bought from somebody else, he should have already been circumcised, right? Ben Nechar, Asher, pronoun relative, who, Lo is not, Mi Zaracha, prepositional mem, Zera means seed, Zaracha is your seed, singular, who. And so this is the pronoun third person masculine singular being used as the verb is, right? Asher lo mizarachahu, who is not from your descendants, from your seed. King James, verse 12, and he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every child in your generations. He that is born in the house and bought with money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed. Okay. NIV, for the generations to come, every male among you who is 8 days old must be circumcised. I would have said shall be circumcised, including those born in your household or bought with money from a foreigner, those who are not your offspring. Okay. Um, Chabad, and at the age of 8 days, every male shall be circumcised to you throughout your generations. One that is born in the house, or one that is purchased with money from any foreigner who is not of your seed. Um, okay. Himol yimol. And this is where we're seeing that repetition. Himol yimol yelid beitcha umiknat kaspecha v'haita briti bivsarchem livrit olam. Okay, so this is the root to circumcise. Himol yimol, right? You'll notice it's in the infinitive absolute, and then it's in the imperfect. This is usually translated as shall surely, right? But it's intensifying it through repetition, right? Shall be circumcised. Circumcised shall be circumcised. Yelid, like we spoke about before, is born. Beitecha, of your house, singular you. U miknat kaspecha, again, bought of your money, like we discussed before. Vehaita, and shall be, because the vav is conjunctive vav and it's in the perfect, so it's getting flipped. Vehaita briti, and shall be my covenant. Biv sarchem. So the root here, basar, means flesh. We had that before. The prepositional bet shall be in your flesh, in flesh, and it's all y'all's, second person masculine plural, bib sarchem, in all of your flesh. Livrit, so prepositional lamed, as a, for a, brit, meaning covenant. Olam, again, everlasting, forever, of the world, right? Livrit, olam. Okay. Okay, verse 13. He that is born in thy house and that he and he that is bought with thy money must needs be circumcised. And so that's how they're translating himol, right? The thing. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. Okay. Whether born in your household or bought with your money, they must be circumcised. My covenant in your flesh is to be an everlasting covenant. And the difference there, it really is partially because there's no to be form of the verb. There's no present tense of the word to be, so they're translating that a little bit differently from each other. Let's see what Chabad says. Verse 13, those born in the house and those purchased for money, your money, shall be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh as an everlasting covenant. I'm really interested to see why this is repeating it. Here, Scripture repeated the commandment, but did not state that it is on the eighth day to teach that there is a slave born in the house who is circumcised after the eighth day, which means on the Sabbath. Okay, so this is the Talmud darshans why this repetition. You can look in the Talmud tractate Shabbat 135b if you are interested. Okay, next one. 14. Ve'arel zachar asher lo yimol et abasar orlato ve'nichreta hanefesh hahi me'ameha et abriti hafar. Ooh, bad person. Okay, conjunctive of arel. So like we said, the orla was the foreskin, right? So somebody with a foreskin, they're saying uncircumcised, the arel, and they're saying it's an adjective, I guess. Arel zachar. I would actually say that this is more in a construct form, but they're saying it's the adjective form. Doesn't make much difference. But Arel Zachar, an uncircumcised male, I'm not exactly sure why it's saying male, because obviously that's male. But Asher, pronoun relative, lo is not, Yimol, so who did not get circumcised, right? It's the Nifal and perfect, third person masculine singular. Root is mem vav lamed, like we said before. Et is the direct object marker. Basar meaning flesh, or lato, right? Or la meaning foreskin, or lato his foreskin. Ve'nichreta, so conjunctive of, and like I said before, necher, like we said, strange. This is actually karet. The root here is chaf resh hey, meaning to cut, I would say, or is it chaf resh taf? They're saying chaf resh taf. I would agree with that. Yeah, chaf resh hey is to recognize. Yeah, chaf resh taf. That's fine. Nichreta shall it's in the nifal, right? Conjunctive perfect. It's getting flipped. Is it getting flipped? It's not getting flipped. Yeah, it is getting flipped from the past tense to the future. Nichreta shall be cut off, right? Karet. Ha nefesh. So ha is actually, I think this might be the first time we've had the article. That's the in Hebrew. Ha nefesh. Nefesh is one of the ways we refer to a person or a soul in Hebrew. Nefesh. Ha he. So this is one of the ways which we specify a particular person in Hebrew specifically, right? Hanefesh hahi, that person, right? And both of them have that article ha and he is because nefesh is in the feminine, he is the pronoun in the feminine. So nefesh hahi, that particular person, right? Me'ameha. And again, because nefesh is in the feminine, ameha means her, from her people. Means people, ameha is her people. The prepositional means of or here from. Et briti, so this is the direct object marker. Briti, my covenant, so to my covenant, right? My covenant. Hefar. And this is Hefar. What's the root here? Is it por? Parar. Peram. Resh. Resh. Double. Resh. I mean, it does show up a lot of times, but it's a strange root. 50 times. They're saying it's a double resh. I'm not sure I've seen it with a double resh. A primitive root to break up. Yeah, I mean you can use your concordance there. So hefar has broken, has made, not important. And this punctuation here is what's called a stuma. So if you ever look in a Torah scroll, you will notice that there are spaces there. And some of the spaces are what's called a stuma, meaning closed. And some of those spaces are what's called a petucha, meaning open. And a stuma, the space doesn't go all the way to the end of the line. There's a word towards the end of the line which starts, so it's a closed space. So it's like the paragraph doesn't go the space doesn't go all the way to the end of the line, and a petucha is open, so it does go to the end of the line, and the next word starts at the start of the next line, right? If you ever look into a scroll, you'll see that. But that's why this punctuation is a samech instead of a pei. The letter samech doesn't show up in the scroll. The scroll actually has a space there. Let's look at the translation. And the uncircumcised male child, I'm not even sure why he said child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant. Okay, NIV. Any uncircumcised male, I prefer that, who has not been circumcised in the flesh. This flesh? Et basar olato, yeah. In the flesh, will be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. Okay. Chabad. And an uncircumcised male who will not circumcise the flesh of his foreskin, that soul will be cut off from its people. He has broken my covenant. Got it? Okay. Next verse. Vayomer Elohim el Avraham, Sarai ishtecha lo tikra et Shema Sarai ki Sarah Shema. So Sarah is also getting a new name, right? So conjunctive of, this is to say aleph mem resh, right? The less harsh way of saying to say. And what some people will, how you want to translate those two, that's up to you. You might say that the first that Amar is to say and Diber is to talk. Up to you. Elohim is God, one of the names. El is this is the preposition with the aleph. Avraham is his name. Sarai is her name still. Ishtecha. So ish means man. Isha means woman. Ishtecha. Ishtecha. The hey gets turned into a tough because it words change into their construct form in order to take suffix, and it's taking the suffix you, right? Second person masculine singular. And so Sarah, your wife, lo tikra, shall not be called. So tikra, it's you might notice that that's with a tough. That's because it's in the feminine. She's a woman, obviously. Tikra, the root is kof resh aleph. It's in an imperfect, shall not be called, right? Et Shema, so direct object marker. Shem means name. Shema is her name. Third person masculine, feminine singular, sorry. Sarai, her old name. Ki, so usually ki means because, but here more means but. Sarah, right? Sarah, Shema. And there's no present tense of the verb to be, so, because Sarah is her name. What they're translating as shall be her name. Shema, right? Let's see. King James 15. And God said unto Abraham, as to Sarai, thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be. I would translate as is her name. NIV, God also said to Abraham, as for Sarai, your wife, you are no longer to call her Sarai, her name will be Sarah. Okay. Chabad, and God said to Abraham, your wife Sarai, you shall not call her name Sarai, for Sarah is her name. See, this is what I like. And you can read. I really prefer Chabad. It's much more true to the Hebrew generally, I would say. And you can read the Rashi. He explains there why her name changes. It's kind of cute. Okay. Uverachti ota vegam natati mimena lecha ben uverachtiha v'haita legoyim malchei amim mimena yihiu. Okay. So, conjunctive of berachti, the root here is bet resh chaf, which means to bless. Also means to, it refers to the knee. This is in the PL because that root to bless is considered more of a intensive verb. It's conjugated in the PL. And it's in the imperfect, it's in the perfect, but because of the vav, it's getting flipped, right? I blessed becomes I will bless. In the first person common singular, right? Barachti. Ota, right? Direct object marker, third person feminine singular. I shall, and I will bless her. Vegam, so conjunctive of. Gam is the conjunction and also, right? So, and also, natati, so this is in the perfect of latet, natan, the root is nun, tough, nun, to set or to give. And I gave her, right? This is in the perfect form. V'gam natati mimena lecha. So she was already pregnant. I gave from her to you, mimena, from her, mimena, right? Third person feminine singular, mimena. lecha, to you. So prepositional lamed, second person masculine singular. Ben, son. Uverachtiha, and I will bless her. Right? Conjunctive vav, it's getting flipped from the past tense. Verachti, I blessed. Same root, bet resh chaf. Verachtiha, and I will bless her. V'haita, so again, conjunctive vav, and it's getting flipped from the past tense of was, so shall be, right? Lehiot, this is to be. Let goyim, so prepositional lamed, goyim means nations. She shall be a mother of nations. They're reading it. There shall be nations from her. Malchei amim, the kings of people, right? Means people. Amim means peoples. So melech means kings. Melachim means kings. Melech means king, singular. Malachim means kings. Malchei is in the construct form in the smichut with amim, kings of peoples, right? Mimena, from her, yihiu, will be, or they're translating as shall come. It's an imperfect, right? Third person masculine plural, yihiu. Okay. King James, verse 16, and I will bless her and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Okay. I will bless her, and will surely give you a son by her. Okay. I will bless her so that she will be the mother of nations, kings of peoples will come from her. Okay. Chabad. And I will bless her, and I will give you a son from her. Okay. And I will bless her, and she will become a mother of nations. And they put that. See, I like the brackets. I like the fact they do that. Kings of nations will be from her. Yeah. Okay. And you can read the Rashis if you like. Okay, verse 17. Vayipol Avraham al panav, vayitzchak vayomer belibo hal ben mea shana yivaled ve'im Sarah habat tish'in shana teled. Okay. So Vayipol Avraham al panav, we had that several verses before, and he fell. Avraham fell on his face. Vayitzchak. So conjunctive of, the root is tzadik chat kof, which means to laugh, right? And he laughed by Yitzchak. It's in the imperfect. It's getting flipped by the vav, and you'll notice because that'll be his name, Isaac. It's Yitzchak, right? He laughed, meaning he laughed, right? He will laugh. Yitzchak, so he laughed. Yomer, and he said, right? Conjunctive of yomer is to say, getting flipped, right? Libo, so prepositional bet, lev means heart, libo means his heart. So he said in his heart, so he said quietly, ha leben. So one thing that happens in the Hebrew is sometimes the article is used to ask a question, and that's what's going on here. So let ben, prepositional lamed, right, to a son, right, ben, ha leben, and well, ben mea shana, right? Is it that I will be at 100 years? this is a lot clearer in the Hebrew than it really translates directly, but it's pretty clear. Ha-leben mea shana, right? Mea means 100, shana means year, right? So ben mea shana is somebody who's 100 years old. And leben shana, mea shana, at 100 years old. Ha-leben mea shana, is it that at 100 years old, right? That hey, that article, the, makes it into a question in the Hebrew. Okay? Halaben me'ashana yivaled. So again, this is a complex thing. What the exact root here is? Probably I would say Vav Lamed Daled, and I would say that it's actually different from the root Lamed Daled Hey, but the concordance is using it the same, and they're just saying that it's in different forms. They're saying it's the same root in different forms. Maybe. I don't know about that. This is one of those strange, very primitive, often used verbs. Sorry about the ambulance going by. I hope that doesn't disturb you too much. It means to bear children. It has to do with children, and there are different ways of looking at it. You can, if you want to pay attention to this verb, you can. There are different ways of translating it. But whatever it is, shall be born, give birth, right? How it's used differently by a male than it is. You'll see begot, right, a lot in the Bible, and to give birth. So these two words, yivaled and teled, may or may not be the exact same root or related roots in different constructions. Okay, got it? I hope that's clear. Okay, yivaled, shall be born, right? Their morphology that they're giving is nifal imperfect, okay, which is acceptable. Ve'im, so conjunctive of im is with, but actually, no, this is im if. It's kind of a question word. Is it, right? He's asking a question again. Sarah, ha bat, again, the article is being used to ask a question. Ha bat tisha shana teled, right? Will Sarah at 90 years old give birth, right? She's already old. King James, then Abram fell onto his face and laughed and said in his heart, shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? Yeah, I can. NIV, Abraham fell face down. He laughed and said to himself, will a son be born to a man 100 years old? And will Sarah bear a child at the age of 90? Yeah, both of those are acceptable. Chabad. And Abraham fell on his face and rejoiced. Vayitzchak. Right? So he's doing rejoiced. And Rashi's basing that on Onkelos. You can read the Rashis if you like. Because, okay. Will a child, right, and they're reading that child, right, into it, and that's why they're using the brackets. I love the fact they use the brackets with these stuff. Be born to one who is 100 years old, and will Sarah, who's 90 years old, give birth? And you can look at the Rashis if you like. It's actually interesting, but I'm not going to go over all the Rashis. That would take forever. Verse 18, Vayomer Abraham El Ha-Elokim Lu Yishmael Yichyeh Lefanecha. I don't remember this verse before. Okay, Vayomer. So, conjunctive of Yomer and said, right? It's getting flipped. We have this all the time. Abraham is his name. El is the preposition with the aleph. Ha Elohim, right? Said to the gods, literally, but said to God, right? Um, Lu, Lu is strange. I mean, it's kind of an interjection. It's also that's an interesting one. Lu, that preposition. I'm really wondering what Rashi has to say here, but that's an interesting word, Lu. Let's see what the concordance comes up with. Lu, conjunction. If, that. Yeah, this is the first time it shows up. It shows up a fair amount of times. Yeah, 22 times. That's not nothing to sneeze at. That's actually more than most words. So you can use your concordance there to also if you're interested in what exactly that word means. Ishmael is obviously Ishmael's name. Yichyeh. So the root here is chet yud hey, I would say, to live, right? Or chet vav hey, chet yud hey, to live. Yichyeh is in the imperfect. Lefanecha, before you. Prepositional lamed, panim means face, lefanecha, before you, to your face, in front of you, right? So he's praying for Ishmael, and that I have to reload. Okay, let's look at what King James says in verse 18. And Abram said unto God, "Oh, that Ishmael might live before thee." Yeah, I'll agree with that. NIV, and Abraham said to God, "If only Ishmael might live under your blessing." Not sure about that. I prefer the King James there. Chabad, and Abraham said to God, "If only Ishmael will live before you." Yeah, that's what I like. Let's see what Chabad says. But Rashi says, "If only Ishmael will live. If only Ishmael will live, I do not deserve to receive such a reward as this. Will live before you." This means let him live in fear of you, as in the verse, "Walk before me." And the Targum, right, Inkoles, is translates it as "serve me." Following Targum Unita. Interesting. Might want to look in the Unclus and the Targumim. Targumim are always interesting. Okay. And the Targumim are basically available on Sefaria, if you're interested. Vayomer Elokim Aval Sarah Ishtecha Yoledet Lecha Ben Vekarata Et Shemo Yitzchak V'Hakimoti Et Abriti Ito Livrit Olam Lazaro Acharav. Okay. So, Vayomer, and said, Elohim is God. Aval, but, right? Aval is usually but. And they're saying truly. So God's kind of contradicting with Ishmael, right? He's like, he's not the child I'm talking about. It seems. Sarah, Sarah, Ishtecha, your wife, Yoledet, right? So this is the participle. It's in the present tense. I'm not sure why they put it in the future. This is the participle. Yoledet. She is giving birth. Lecha, to you, right? Ben, a son. Vekarata, so conjunctive verb. Karata is in the perfect completed, but it's getting flipped. You shall call him, right? Et is the direct object marker. Shemo, his name. Shem means name. Shemo means his name. Yitzchak, Isaac, right? And like we said, Yitzchak was the word rejoiced, laughed, right? He will laugh. Vehakimoti, and we had Hakimoti before to establish at Briti, right? At the beginning, same thing. The root I would say is Kof Vav Mem, and it's in the Hifil, like they say. It's in the causative. I will establish. I will cause to stand, right? So I will establish. Et is the direct object marker. Briti is my covenant. Ito, with him. This is not the direct object marker. This is the preposition et. Ito, with him. Livrit olam. Prepositional lamed, to, as, for. Brit means covenant. Olam, so this is in smichut, an eternal covenant. Right, everlasting. Lezaro acharav. Prepositional lamed. Zera means seed. Zaro, his seed. To his seed. Acharav, after him. Okay. King James, verse 19. And God said, Sarah, thy wife, shall bear thee a son. Indeed. That's how they're translating the aval, indeed. And thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. Okay? NIV, then God said, yes. So they're translating the aval as yes. Yes, but. Yes, but. Okay. Your wife Sarah shall bear you a son, and you shall call him Isaac. And we'll take a look at the note. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. And the note says Isaac means he laughs. Literally it means he will laugh. Okay. And God said, indeed, your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you shall name him Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his seed after him. So Rashi explains that aval. Aval is an expression of confirmation of a statement, and likewise, indeed, we are guilty. 2 Kings 4:14. Indeed, she has no son, according to the Targumim, according to the translations. And you can read the Rashi's on the rest of it if you like. Okay, verse 20. Ule Ishmael shamaticha hine berachti oto vehifrireti oto vehirbeti oto b'maod maod shnem asar nesiim yolid ve'natativ legoy gadol. Right? So, conjunctive of prepositional lamed, Ishmael. So, and as for Ishmael, and to Ishmael, and regarding Ishmael, right? Shamaticha, I heard you, right? Because he just said, please let him live. Shamaticha, so the root here is shin mem ayin, which means to listen, to hear, right? Shamaticha, I heard you, I have heard you, right? Shamati means I have heard you. Hine, behold, or what, see, right? Or here is. It's an interjection. Berachti, so root is bet resh chaf, which is to bless. Berachti, I have blessed him. Oto, right? So this is the direct object marker. Ito is with him. Oto is him with the direct object marker, right? Oto. Vehifreti, so this is to cause to be fruitful, right? The root is pe resh he or pe resh vav. Pe resh he, I think we said before. Vehifreti, and I caused him to be fruitful, right? Well, the vav is flipping it from the perfect to the imperfect. Oto, and I will make him fruitful. Vehirbi beti, right? Again, from Rav or Rish bete to be multiply, right? Here beti, I cause to be to multiply, right? I will cause him to multiply. Oto, again, direct object for him. Bimmeod meod, same language as we used before, greatly, exceedingly, right? Prepositional bet, and meod means very, and it's being repeated. Shnem asar, so shnaim means two, shnem asar means 12. Eser means 10, shnem asar is 12. Shnem asar nesiim, so and nasi, it's an interesting word. It's usually translated as a prince. It's a leader. It comes from to raise in Hebrew. Nesia is a, yeah. I mean, you can look it up in the concordance, but Nesiim are princes, right? 12 princes. You'll lead, and we spoke about to beget, right? To cause to be born, you'll lead. And it is written Bemilui. It's written with that vav. Again, this is it's a strange verb, I think. Like I've said before. Unetativ, and I. So latat is to give, to set, to make. Netativ, very similar to language we had before in this chapter, and I will make him, right? The vav is flipping it from the past tense to the future. Le goy gadol. Prepositional lamed, goy meaning a nation. Gadol means great or big, right? Gadol shows up a lot. It is ben milui here with the vav, as is pretty much normal. And I shall make him a great nation. Okay. Let's look at verse 20 in the King James. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. Right? 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. Okay. Verse 20. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. I will surely bless him. I will make him fruitful and will greatly increase his numbers. He will be the father of 12 rulers. They're translating Nesiim as rulers. And I will make him into a great nation. Okay. Chabad. And regarding Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him. And I will make him fruitful, and I will multiply him exceedingly. He will beget 12 princes. They also did the princes. Rashi. Okay, you can read the Rashis if you like. And I will make him a great nation, into a great nation. Okay. Verse 21. Ve'et abriti akim et יצחק אשר תלד לך שרה למועד הזה בשנה האחרת. Oh, okay. So, the et, so conjunctive of, et is the direct object marker. Briti, my covenant. Akim. So, like we said, Hakimoti before, right? Akim, I will establish. Same as before. This is in the hefil of I will cause to stand, right? Of kum, of vav mem. Et. So they're saying it's the preposition. Et Yitzchak. Okay, maybe it's the preposition or the direct object marker. Yeah, I guess it would be with if it's the preposition. Yitzchak, his name. Asher is the pronoun relative. That, right? Whom, which. Teled shall bear. This is in the feminine, so it's talking about Sarah, right? Teled shall give birth to, right? Lecha, for you, right? Prepositional lamed. This is the second person masculine singular, right? The verb to bear is in the feminine, so it's talking about Sarah, right? La moed. So la moed, the lamed is the prepositional lamed. The vocalization tells you that it has the article there. Okay? Le moed would be to moed, and we'll discuss that. La moed is to the time, right? At the time. Moed, so it's an interesting word. It means a festival or a time. You can look in your you can look at it your concordance, but Moed is a festival, appointed time meeting, right? There's also the tent of meeting, right? Where's the tabernacle, right? Ohel Moed, right? The tent of a meeting, Ohel Moed, right? So you can look at that. Okay. Moed Hazeh. So this appointed time, this meeting time, this particular time, Hazeh, right? The right, La Moed Hazeh, right? This particular time. It's the article and then the pronoun masculine singular because Moed is masculine singular, right? Moed Hazeh. Ba Shana, prepositional bet, again with the article, in the year, Ba Shana, right? Shana means year. Ha-acheret, meaning the next. Acher means other. Acheret is the feminine because Shana is feminine. Ha-acheret, but when you say Ba Shana ha-acheret, it means the coming year, right? The next year. Okay? 21, King James. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. Okay? Okay. But my covenant I will, and the reason they're translating the vav, the conjunctive vav, as but is because sometimes that's what it makes sense, and here it does make sense. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you by this time next year. Okay. Chabad, but my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you at this time next year. Okay. Verse 22. Vaychal ledaber ito, vayal Elokim me'al Abraham. So Vayichal shows up in Genesis 1 very similar way. It means to complete, right? It's the same. It's an interesting verb here, Vayichal. Um, it may or may not be a two-letter primitive verb to be completed. Vayichal, to finish. Might be chaf lamed hey. It's an interesting verb. You might want to look it up in your concordance. But it's an imperfect and it's getting flipped. Ledaber, infinitive, to speak. So God finished speaking. Ito, with him, right? Veya'al, so conjunctive of. The root here is ayin lamed hey, which means to rise, right? Vaya'al, and rose, right? Well, it's actually in the imperfect that's getting flipped to past tense. So God rose. Elohim means God. Me'al. Prepositional mem. Al is the preposition with the ayin, not aleph. Abraham. So God rose up from Abraham, right? Did the verse show up? Lord appeared. It doesn't say God came down upon him. Well, I mean, okay. King James verse. And he left off. I would say completed. I wouldn't say left off. Completed and left off talking to him. And God went up from Abraham. Okay. NIV. When he had finished speaking, excuse me, with Abraham, God went up from him. Okay. Chabad, and he finished speaking with him, and God went up from above Abraham. And that's a very interesting Rashi you may be interested in, especially if you're interested in the Kabbalah. But Vayikach Abraham et Yishmael beno ve'et kol yelidei beito ve'et kol miknat kaspo kol zachar be'anshei beit Abraham vayamol et basar orlatam be'etzem hayom hazeh ka'asher diber ito Elokim. Interesting. Okay. This is an interesting verse. It's a long verse. Vayikach. So the root here is, I'd say, quf chet tet, to take. And it's in the imperfect, but it's getting flipped, right? To the perfect. So he took. Abraham is his name. Et is the direct object marker. Ishmael, right, is his name. Beno, his son. Ve'et, so conjunctive of, direct object marker. Kol yelidei beito, so this is one big smichut, one big construct. All that were born in his house. Kol yelidei beito. Beit means house, beito means his house. Yelidei, yeledim, right? Yelid is born. Yelidim are born, right? It's in plural, but it's in the smichut. That's why yelidim is turning to yelidei beito, because it's in a construct form, right? Beito. Ve'et, conjunctive of, direct object marker, kol meaning all. Miknat kaspo, we spoke about it before. This is a one smichut. Those who were bought with his money. Kesef meaning money, kaspo is his money. Kol zachar, all the males, right? And like I said, Zahar actually also means to remember. Be anshe. So prepositional bet. Again, this is in esmichut. Anshe Beit Abraham, right? Uh, um, Anashim means men, and anshe is the construct form of it, right? And that's why the anashim turns into anshe, Beit, right? House of Abraham, right? Men of the house of Abraham. Vayamol, again, conjunctive of, and here, interestingly enough, it's not. So this may be the first time that it's not getting flipped, right? Yamol. No, it is getting flipped. Sorry, it's in the imperfect and it's getting flipped to the past tense. Like so milad, the root is mem vav lamed or mem lamed hey to circumcise. Et is the direct object marker. Basar means flesh. Or latam. Orla is the foreskin, or latam is their foreskin. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's not strange that in the Hebrew it's in the singular. Bet etzem. Prepositional bet etzem actually means essence. They're translating it as very. Um, so the way you can understand etzem is bones are atzamot in Hebrew, right? So it's like the inner parts, right? So it's the essence. Usually I translate it, but they're saying varied substance, bone, substance, self. Substance is probably right. Okay. Be'etzem hayom, of the day, right? Ha is the article, yom hazed, of that day, right? Be'etzem hayom hazed, of that day. Ze is pronoun masculine singular because yom is masculine singular. Ka asher, prepositional chaf, as. Asher is the pronoun relative. Ka asher, as, just like. I would actually translate it. Diber, spoke. It's the perfect form of the root dalad bet resh, to speak. Ito, with him, right? This is not the direct object marker. It's a preposition. Ito, Elohim, God. Okay. King James, verse 23. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in his house, and all that were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the selfsame day. Yeah, that's fine. As God had said unto him. Yeah. 23 NIV, on that very day, Abraham took his son Ishmael and all those born in his house and bought with his money, every male in his house, and circumcised them as God told him. Right? 23, and Abraham took Ishmael his son and all those born in his house and all those purchased with his money, every male of the people of Abraham's household, and he circumcised the flesh of their foreskin on that very day, as God had spoken with him. Okay. And you can read the Rashis if you like. Look like a grammatical Rashi to me. Okay. Va'Avraham ben Tish'im v'tesha shana behimolo basar or lato. Okay. So conjunctive of Abraham is his name. Ben is son, right? But like we said, we're talking about his age because it's talking about his name. Tish'im, 90, v'tesha, and 9, shana, year. Behimolo. So prepositional bet, this is circumcised in the infinitive, himolo, right? In his circumcising. Besar, it means flesh. Or lato, of his foreskin. Right? Besar or lato, it's one smichut. Right? One construct. Besar or lato. King James, and Abraham was 90 years old and 9 when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. Okay. NIV, Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised. They didn't bother with the flesh of his foreskin. Um, Chabad and Ishmael, sorry, and Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised of the flesh of his foreskin. Okay, I'm going to skip that Rashi. Although, I mean, I like the Rashis, but I'm not going to go over all the Rashis. וישמעאל בנו בן 13 שנה בהימו לו את בשר עורלתו. Okay. So, conjunctive vav, Yishmael is his name, Beno, his son, Ben 13 was 13 years old, Shlosh Esre. Right? Shalosh means 3, Esre means 10, Shlosh Esre is 13. Shana, year. Behimolo, so prepositional bet, himolo, himol means, is the infinitive, himolo, in circumcising, et, direct object marker, besar or lato, in the flesh of his foreskin. King James, and Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. Okay? NIV, and his son Ishmael was 13. Okay? Pretty short. And Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he was circumcised of the flesh of his foreskin. So I wanted to read this Rashi because I wanted to explain how we do that darshaning, exegesis of the et, right? The direct object marker. So let's read this Rashi. Concerning Abraham, it does not say et, right? So we saw Abraham Tesha Shana Behimolo Basar or Lato, and with Ishmael it says Behimolo et Basar or Lato. Yeah, you see, it doesn't show up in the translation, right? But with Abraham, it doesn't have the et, it doesn't have the direct object marker. With Ishmael, it does. It's a very similar sentence, right? So Rashi is going to darshan this because he was lacking only the severing of the flesh, because it was already been flattened out by intercourse. But Ishmael, who was a youth, required that the foreskin be severed and the corona be uncovered. Therefore, right? So because Abraham was older, right? So he's darshaning it, right? It's and so right? Because I mean, without getting into the details, because one has et and the other one doesn't, you have to darshan it, right? There's a meaning there, right? And we do that. And okay, just wanted to make that clear for you. Okay. Verse 26. Be'etzem hayom hazeh nimol Abraham vayishmael beno. So it's kind of repetitive, but prepositional bet, etzem, like we said, in the essence, right, in the substance, in the that they're translating that very hayom hazeh, of that particular day. Nimol were circumcised. Right? It's in the Nifal, right? Abraham ve'Ishmael beno, Abraham and his son. Verse 26. In the self-same day was Abraham circumcised and Ishmael his son. NIV. Abraham and his son Ishmael were both circumcised on that very day. Okay. Chabad, on that very day Abraham was circumcised, and so was Ishmael his son. Let's see what. I'm not exactly sure what Rashi's saying there. That day was their birthday? Possibly that's the Moed? I'm guessing there are drushas on this, especially since they translated it that way. I'm guessing there are drushas here that because it's very repetitive, and the way they're translating it, I'm sure there are drushas that I don't seem to remember right now, especially on the Rashi, because that's a very strange Rashi. I'm guessing that the Chabad Rebbe did a sicha on this. He did a discourse on this. On this Rashi, which sometimes he asks the most wonderful questions on the Rashis. I'm a big fan of his discourses, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, verse 27. V'chol anshe beito yelid bayit u'miknat kesef me'et ben nechar nimolo im ito. Okay, very repetitive. The whole and all, right? Conjunctive of whole is all. And she, because it's in the smichut, beito, right? The men of his house, beito, his house. Yelid bait, born in the house, like we discussed before. Miknat kesef, or bought with money. Me'et ben nechar. So, me'et, from, with, right? Prepositional mem. I'm not sure this is the direct object marker. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not. I think they're making a mistake. Met ben Nechar, Ben Nechar is son of a foreigner. We discussed that. Nimol, right? Oh, Miknat Kesef met. It is the direct object marker. Miknat. It's from Miknat Kesef, right? Bought with his money, right? Bought with money from a son, from a foreigner. Nimolu ito were circumcised with him, and then the punctuation. This is the pay because it's a petucha, right? It's an open thing in the scroll, and there are websites where you can actually see the scroll, right? The Chabad of Beverly Hills has the scroll up, which you might want to see. Okay. King James, and all the men of his house, born in his house, and bought with money of the stranger, from the stranger, were circumcised with him. Okay. And every male in Abraham's household, including those born in his household or bought from a foreigner, was circumcised with him. Right. Okay. And Chabad and all the people of his household were those born in his house and those bought with money from foreigners were circumcised with him. Okay. I hope this was a blessing to you. As always, I will end with one of my favorite verses, Sephania 3:9. Ki az epoch el amim safa berra likro chulam Beshem Havaya La'ovdo Shchem Echad. So, for then, a hepoch literally means I will turn over, but they're saying restore. El Amim, to the peoples. Safa Bera, they're saying a pure language, a winnowed language, a clear language. Likro Hulam, so that they may all call. Beshem Havaya, in the name of the Tetragrammaton. Le'ovdo, to serve him. Shchem Echad, with one shoulder, with one accord together. And hopefully this has been an opportunity for all of us to have a more clear language when we speak of God's Word, and this will be a blessing to us. Shalom.